In a climate characterized by political turmoil and shifting public sentiment, recent polling data from Gallup reveals a nuanced landscape of opinions regarding American democracy. While a significant majority of Americans, 61%, express dissatisfaction with the current state of democracy in the United States, the percentage of those who are satisfied has increased to 34%, a notable rise from the record low of 28% recorded just a year prior. This slight uptick represents a rare moment of optimism amid a prolonged period of discontent, echoing sentiments from as far back as the 1980s when satisfaction levels were at an all-time high of 61%. The Gallup survey, conducted from December 2 to December 18, 2024, demonstrates that satisfaction with democracy is still at a low ebb compared to historical benchmarks. Indeed, the last time satisfaction levels were comparable to the current figures was in January 2021. Shortly after the tumultuous events surrounding the 2020 presidential election and the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The increase in satisfaction appears to be largely driven by Republicans, with satisfaction among this group nearly doubling from 17% to 33% following Donald Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election. This shift underscores how party affiliation significantly influences perceptions of democracy, aligning with historical trends where supporters of the incumbent party generally report higher levels of satisfaction. Democrats, on the other hand, report a satisfaction rate of 35%, a slight decrease from 38% a year earlier and significantly lower than the 47% registered shortly after Biden's inauguration. Interestingly, independents have also shown increased satisfaction, rising to 34%, marking a shift from 27% in the previous year. The convergence of satisfaction levels among Republicans, Democrats, and independents is a rare occurrence and suggests a more unified, albeit cautious, perspective on the state of democracy. The survey also highlights a notable trend regarding educational attainment and satisfaction with democracy. There was a significant decline between 2021 and 2023 in satisfaction among individuals with a high school education or less, dropping from 36% to 21%. However, satisfaction among this demographic has rebounded to 34%, closing the gap between different education levels. This narrowing of perspectives may reflect broader societal shifts as the concerns of lower educated voters are increasingly acknowledged in political discourse. While the uptick in satisfaction is a welcome sign, it starkly contrasts with the higher levels of confidence in government and public institutions that characterized earlier decades. As the American political landscape continues to evolve, the findings from Gallup suggest that while some citizens are finding reasons for optimism, many remain deeply skeptical about the effectiveness and functionality of democracy in the United States. Looking ahead, the implications of these polling results are significant, especially as the country prepares for the upcoming elections. The political environment is charged, with the Democratic Party grappling with how to respond to Trump's early moves in office, including a series of executive orders that provoke strong reactions from various segments of the electorate. Democrats are faced with the dual challenge of addressing internal discontent while countering the narrative and policies of the new administration, all under the scrutiny of a public that is increasingly wary of political institutions. As the Biden administration transitions into a potentially tumultuous period marked by Trump's assertive governance, both parties must navigate a landscape fraught with challenges and opportunities. The future of American democracy may hinge not only on the actions of elected officials but also on the collective response of an electorate that has shown both resilience and frustration in equal measure. The road ahead will undoubtedly require careful navigation and a commitment to addressing the concerns of all Americans as the pulse of public opinion continues to evolve in this complex political climate. As the political landscape evolves with the recent inauguration of J.D. Vance as Vice President, attention has turned to his wife Vance, who has taken on the role of Second Lady of the United States. While historically this position has been somewhat subdued, Vance's unique background and accomplishments suggest she may redefine expectations for political spouses in Washington. Vance, born Usha Chilukuri, hails from modest beginnings in the suburbs of San Diego, California. Her parents, both immigrants from India, instilled in her a strong work ethic and the value of education. Her academic journey is impressive. She earned a bachelor's degree in history from Yale University before becoming a Gates Scholar at Cambridge, where she obtained an M.Phil in early modern history. This formidable educational background serves not only as a testament to her intelligence but also as a reflection of the immigrant success story that resonates deeply with many Americans. The couple's paths crossed at Yale Law School, where they bonded over discussions surrounding social issues in America. This connection not only sparked a romantic relationship, J.D. Vance has recounted how he fell for Usha after just one date, but it also proved influential in his best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy. The book, which chronicles his upbringing in the Rust Belt, draws heavily on the themes they discussed during their studies, showcasing Usha's impact on his narrative and worldview. Usha's professional journey has been marked by significant achievements, including her tenure as a trial lawyer at the prestigious San Francisco law firm Munger, Tolles & Olson, known for its progressive stances. Interestingly, while her husband has gained notoriety for his criticism of woke culture, Usha's past as a registered Democrat and her legal work under conservative figures like Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh highlight a nuanced political landscape within the Vance household. Despite their differing public personas, friends of the couple describe their relationship as an equal partnership. Usha is seen as a vital sounding board for J.D., guiding him through the challenges of public life. Charles Tyler, a law professor and former classmate, noted her generosity and willingness to support fellow students, a trait that has evidently carried into her adult life. The couple, married in 2014, share 3 children and emphasize the importance of family. Usha has articulated how her husband's focus on family stability is rooted in their own experiences and the support systems that propelled them forward. Her great-grandaunt in India has expressed pride in Usha's accomplishments, emphasizing the rarity of such success for immigrants in the United States. As Usha Vance steps into her role as Second Lady, she represents not just a supportive partner but a multifaceted individual with a rich background and a voice that may influence cultural and political conversations. Her involvement in public life will be closely watched, especially as she navigates the complexities of her husband's increasingly polarized political environment. Looking ahead, Usha Vance's trajectory may signal a shift in how spouses of political figures engage with public issues, potentially leveraging their platforms to advocate for causes that resonate with their personal journeys. As the Vances settle into their new roles at the heart of American politics, the implications of Usha's involvement could extend far beyond the traditional confines of the Second Lady's position, marking a significant chapter in the evolving narrative of political spouses in the United States. In a significant shift in the political landscape, the U.S. Senate has commenced a new chapter under President Donald Trump's administration, marked by the recent swearing-in of Republican Jon Husted as a senator from Ohio. Husted, a former lieutenant governor and state lawmaker, took his oath on January 20, 2025, filling the vacated seat of Vice President J.D. Vance, who resigned from the Senate earlier this month. This transition not only cements Husted's position in the Senate until December 2026 but also signifies a broader Republican control over Washington, D.C., as the party holds the presidency, both chambers of Congress, and the Supreme Court. Husted's appointment came swiftly after Ohio Governor Mike DeWine announced him as the successor, a decision made just days before the oath was administered. Husted's entry into the Senate marks a notable moment for Ohio, as both its senators are now new to federal legislative duties, with Husted joining Bernie Moreno, a businessman endorsed by Trump who recently unseated long-serving Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown. Husted, 57, faces a unique electoral landscape ahead of him, as he will contend in a special election in November 2026 to complete Vance's term, followed by another campaign in 2028 to secure his own full term. As Husted settles into his role, the Senate is also witnessing a major legislative push with the passage of the Laken Riley Act, a contentious immigration measure aimed at expanding the detention of undocumented immigrants charged with property crimes. In a 64-35 vote, the Senate approved the bill on January 20, with 12 Democrats crossing party lines to support the measure. This legislation is poised to be one of the first signed into law by Trump, who has promised a hardline approach to immigration. Named after a tragic incident involving a nursing student murdered by an undocumented immigrant, the Laken Riley Act underscores the administration's focus on strict immigration enforcement. The bill mandates expanded detention for specific crimes and grants state attorneys general the authority to challenge federal immigration policies, raising concerns among immigration advocates. Experts warn that the implications of this bill could extend beyond undocumented individuals, potentially affecting immigrants with legal status and complicating visa processes internationally. The passage of this bill reflects a broader trend within the Republican Party, which is now leveraging its unified control to implement aggressive policy changes. The recent electoral successes have energized the party's base as they capitalize on promises of stricter immigration enforcement that were central to Trump's campaign. As these developments unfold, the implications for both Husted's political future and the legislative landscape under Trump's presidency remain to be seen. Husted's initial focus in the Senate will likely revolve around aligning with the administration's priorities, particularly concerning immigration and economic policies. With a special election looming and the political climate shifting rapidly, how Husted navigates these challenges will be closely watched. Looking ahead, the coming months will determine how effectively the GOP can translate its legislative agenda into action, especially as it faces scrutiny from opposition parties and advocacy groups. As Trump prepares to sign a flurry of executive orders to implement his immigration crackdown, the interplay between state and federal policies will be a critical area of focus in the evolving political narrative of the United States. As the dust settles on the 2024 elections, the 119th Congress has officially convened, marking a significant milestone in the ongoing transformation of America's legislative body. For the first time in history, a record 26% of voting members identify as belonging to a race or ethnicity other than non-Hispanic white, showcasing a notable shift towards greater racial and ethnic diversity on Capitol Hill. According to a new analysis from the Pew Research Center, this Congress, which comprises 533 voting members as of January 3, 2025, has seen the number of racial and ethnic minority members nearly double since the 109th Congress of 2005 to 2007, which included only 73 such lawmakers. The analysis highlights that 139 of the current senators and representatives identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian American, or Native American. This evolving landscape reflects a long-term trend, as the 119th Congress marks the 8th consecutive Congress to break its own record for diversity. The increasing representation of racial and ethnic minorities in Congress is a testament to the changing demographics of the United States, said Catherine Schaefer, a research analyst at Pew Research Center. However, while progress has been made, the representation still does not fully reflect the American populace. Democrats continue to dominate the minority representation in Congress, with 84% of racial and ethnic minority members identifying as Democrats, while only 16% are Republicans. This gap has widened slightly compared to the previous Congress, where 80% were Democrats and 20% were Republicans. In the House of Representatives, the proportion remains steady, with 28% of members classified as Black, Hispanic, Asian, or Native American. Among the notable achievements of this Congress, 5 multiracial representatives have made their mark, all of whom are Democrats. This includes Florida's Maxwell Alejandro Frost and New York's Richie Torres and Adriano Espaillat, who identify as both Black and Hispanic. The House also features Virginia's Bobby Scott and Washington's Marilyn Strickland, who represent both Black and Asian American heritage, with Scott being the first lawmaker of Filipino descent to serve. Despite these advancements, the overall racial and ethnic composition of Congress still lags behind the national demographic figures. Non-Hispanic whites constitute 74% of Congress compared to 58% of the U.S. population. This discrepancy highlights the ongoing need for reforms aimed at achieving more equitable representation. While we celebrate the progress, we must acknowledge that Congress remains less diverse than the nation it serves, Schaefer noted. This gap is a reminder of the work that lies ahead in achieving true representation. The Senate too reflects this trend, with 16 senators identifying as racial or ethnic minorities, an increase from 12 in the previous session. This includes the unprecedented simultaneous service of two black women, Angela Alsobrooks of Maryland and Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware, both representing their states for the first time in the Senate. Among the Republican minority notable members include Tim Scott, the longest-serving black senator, and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, both of Hispanic descent. Additionally, Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, a member of the Cherokee Nation, is recognized as the first Native American senator since 2005. As we look to the future, the implications of this growing diversity in Congress are profound. The shift not only reflects changing demographics but also signals a potential shift in policy priorities and legislative focus. As more voices from various backgrounds find their way into the halls of power, there is hope for a Congress that better addresses the needs and concerns of a diverse electorate. In conclusion, while the 119th Congress sets a new benchmark for racial and ethnic diversity, the journey toward a more representative legislative body is ongoing. As America evolves, so too must its Congress, fostering an environment where every voice is heard and every community represented. The impact of these changes will resonate not only in policy discussions but also in the very fabric of American democracy as we move forward in a rapidly evolving political landscape. The U.S. Supreme Court finds itself at the crossroads of constitutional law and executive power, particularly as Donald Trump embarks on his second presidential term. With a composition that leans conservatively, the court's decisions in the coming years may significantly reshape the boundaries of presidential authority and civil liberties, raising questions about its willingness to uphold the Constitution against potential overreach. Historically, the Supreme Court has maintained a mixed record in adjudicating cases related to Trump, often divided along ideological lines. Notably, in 2018, the court upheld Trump's contentious Muslim travel ban, emphasizing national security over broader civil rights concerns. This precedent raises alarms about whether the current court will similarly defer to presidential power, especially in cases involving controversial executive actions. As Trump's administration progresses, observers are increasingly concerned about the implications of his proposed policies, which some experts argue could infringe upon established constitutional norms. For instance, Trump has expressed intentions to utilize presidential impoundment of funds, a tactic that allows him to withhold congressionally approved spending without legislative approval. Such actions, if executed, would violate the separation of powers as mandated by the Constitution, a principle designed to prevent any one branch of government from exerting unchecked control. Legal scholars, including Erwin Chemerinsky, dean of the UC Berkeley School of Law, argue that the potential consequences of Trump's plans could tilt the nation towards authoritarianism. The aggregate of these actions, giving the president virtually unlimited control over federal spending and agencies, would shred checks and balances, Chemerinsky noted. The risk is not only that these actions would disrupt the fabric of American democracy but also that they would set precedents for future administrations to follow suit, eroding the constitutional safeguards intended to limit executive power. The issue of immigration policy also looms large in the discourse surrounding Trump's second term. His administration's previous attempts to enforce stringent immigration laws such as mass deportations and the termination of birthright citizenship have sparked legal debates about their constitutionality. Many experts contend that such measures would likely face substantial legal challenges, particularly given the Supreme Court's historical stance on protecting individual rights against executive overreach. Additionally, the specter of using military force domestically raises further concerns about the implications for civil liberties. Trump's previous comments about deploying military forces to quell dissent or enforce immigration laws suggest a willingness to blur the lines established by the Posse Comitatus Act, which limits military involvement in civilian law enforcement. Legal precedents have historically supported the notion that the military should not engage in domestic policing, a principle that upholds the sanctity of American democratic ideals. As discussions about the future of the Supreme Court unfold, it becomes increasingly clear that its role will be pivotal in determining the balance of power between the presidency and the judiciary. The court's decisions in the coming years will not only influence the immediate political landscape but will also shape the constitutional framework for generations to come. In conclusion, as the nation braces for another term under Trump, the stakes could not be higher. The Supreme Court's ability to enforce constitutional limitations on presidential power will be tested. Legal experts are watching closely as the outcomes of these cases could redefine the contours of American democracy, either reinforcing the rule of law or permitting a drift towards unchecked executive authority. The coming months will undoubtedly be critical in setting the tone for the future of governance in the United States, with the Supreme Court at the heart of this pivotal moment.